Well, we'll get started, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Good evening. My name is Zach Newell. I'm the Dean of Libraries and Learning at the University of Southern Maine, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's special Zoom event exploring the profound and beautiful project, Faces and Facets of Jewish Life in Maine. Before we dive into our program, we'd love to know who is in the room with us. So I'm ask you, please take a moment to share in the chat where you are joining us from this evening. And as you're doing that, I want to just give some introduction. This project is a remarkable exploration of identity, capturing the stories of over 300 individuals across the Maine landscape. What began as a series of interviews and meetings has culminated in a powerful 192 picture exhibition, a comprehensive 282 photograph book. Tonight, we aren't just looking at the past, but we're exploring the present, the humanity in a different way, and the pluralistic lens of what it means to be people who chose to be chosen. We have a wonderful panel joining us to navigate these narratives. I'll introduce them. They'll have a chance to introduce themselves too as we go. Hedva Rokach, the artist whose vision drove this project, and Itay Bahur, the author and publisher who helped bring these stories to the page. Amanda Satin, the former president of Hillel of Southern Maine, and Simeon Alley, the current president of Hillel of Southern Maine, two of our dedicated students who have been integral to this dialogue. Louis Miller, who's assistant director for research and fellowship programs at the Cartographic Reference and Teaching Librarian at the Osher Map Library and Smith Center for Cartographic Education. Louis is our lead discussant who will help us delve into the personal narrative of these encounters. And finally, with much thanks to Dr. Paula Gerstenblatt, artist and professor of social work here at the University of Southern Maine, who had the vision and the presence to bring this to us to be able to do this program, to Hillel, and to Hedva and Itay to ask and invite them. I also want to just briefly, before we start, recognize our host partners who made this evening possible: Hillel of Southern Maine, USM Libraries, the Osher Map Library, and the Office of Student Engagement and Belonging. And we also want to highlight our collaboration with the Maine Jewish Museum, which has been so important in sharing this work in Portland and well beyond Portland to larger Maine and beyond. One last point is at a point of artistic context, this project follows an important milestone, the January 25th exhibition of the Japanese Sushi Girls photo project in Haifa, which serves as a fascinating bridge to the work we are discussing tonight. So we have a full agenda ahead, starting with the artistic process and moving into a deep dive of specific stories, followed by a moderated Q&A. Thank you to all of you for being here to celebrate this intersection of art, narrative, and community. I turn it over to Hedva, Itay. Please.
So first of all, good evening. It's late at night at the moment in Israel, and we're both really excited to see all these names, see some familiar names. I want to thank all of you that organized this event and all the people that came to the University of Southern Maine, to Zach Newell, to Professor Libby Bischof, and to Professor Paula Gerstenblatt, to Louis Miller, to Hillel Organization, Amanda Satin, and Simeon Alley, and to our tech expert that saved this event. And secondly, I want to thank the Maine Jewish Museum and especially to the executive director, Don La Rochelle, the initiative for this project is hers. And it happened one night during January 25, when we were in Maine for the Japanese Sushi Girls exhibition. And we talked about another project that I did. And at that evening, Don called me and spoke about the seeds of Ampersand Project, and I think that's something that both of us were so thrilled with, and that was the first step. But I'll tell you all about that later. Another special thank that I want to give from here is to Melissa Yeverbaum, that is the co-curator with Don La Rochelle of the Ampersand exhibition, and to Toby Edelman and Brett Saunders that made the interviews for this project with so many people that participated in it and thus enriched it. Another very special thank is to Itay Bahur that published the book and edited it beautifully, The Faces and Facets of Jewish Life in Maine. Beautiful, so big album. Do you want to say something? Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. And we are very happy to be here, at least in Zoom. And I can see in the chat, in the participant list, many people we know and many people which are new to us. And we're very happy to meet all of you and want to thank all the participants here. Thanks.
Maine was chosen to be the landscape of this project actually by a coincidence. During the 2024, my art project, Japanese Sushi Girls, was exhibited in Haifa, and Don La Rochelle read about it in the newspaper and decided that this project would be exhibited at the MGM. And so during January to February 2025, I visited for the first time the US. We both came to Maine during winter. That was first time that I saw so much snow and felt how it is to be there in minus 20 degrees Celsius. First 10 days were rough. I said many difficult words, but then we somehow managed. So during this time, that idea of the Ampersand Project kind of bubbled. And during February, Dawn decided to really go ahead with the idea. And Itay and I flew back to Israel. We stayed here for during March and April, and we came back with a kind of a concept for this work. And we stayed in the US during May and June 2025. And the first plan was to take pictures of 30 to 40 people that were supposed to represent the variety of Jewish life in Maine. We both felt that this number cannot really represent the variety and richness of Jewish identities from the Jewish community of Maine, and thus we did something very Israeli. We picked up the phone, we talked with the people that became our friends during our first day in Maine, and they gave us details of their friends or acquaintances, and the project grew a little bit, and it ended up by photographing over 300 people of the Jewish community in Maine, and which are about 1.5% of the Jewish people in Maine. And during these 2 months, we drove 7,000 miles. And we were both very lucky because when we planned this stay, we called two of our friends, of our new friends, Elaine and Harvey Kahaner. We asked them to tell us where we can find a place to rent an apartment, something. And they said, no, you'll stay at our place in Old Orchard Beach. And so we had just a place to stay in for these 2 months. And another friend, Marcel Pollack, and his wife, Emily Ecker, gave us their car, the one that they were supposed to sell, but they decided that we'll have it for these 2 months. I don't think they thought we're going to make 7,000 miles in this blue small Toyota Yaris with a manual gear. During the first week, this small car groaned. It just did like this. But then it got used to us and stopped making these noises. And another thing that we did besides taking photos were the biographical questionnaires that Itay planned and Rix, the administrative director from the museum, digitized. And this enriched the project in another aspect that now the museum has so much data about the Jewish life and Jewish people of Maine. And this thing is sort of joining another initiative that Harris Glickman started. And the archive of Jewish life in Maine is being so enriched by that. Do you want to say something too? Because I know I'm missing things.
Yeah, if the panel has.
And I just want to make use of Louis' time because he has to leave at 6:30. And when you narrate the presentation, I think we can get into these great stories about your adventures in Maine. And I think while Louis only has about 16 minutes, I think we should make good use of Louis, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, thank you, Paula. And you know what, I can, let's say 20, okay? Like, you know, it's 16 and some change. Hedva and Itay, I mean, like I have this right with me, and I have so many thoughts and questions for you about your process, but I think we'll try to save those for maybe another day. But I do like that, you know, oftentimes with these exhibitions, we don't get to see the people behind the camera, the people who did the work. And so, you know, you put yourself in at the very end in that picture in Mars Hill, which is an absolutely gorgeous picture. And I just quickly, before I get to some more substantive questions, I'm just interested in, did you reckon with, like, what, did you always know you were going to put yourselves in the book too? Or did that come later on in the sort of process?
No, we had no idea that is going to happen. The project kind of grew, and we grew with it. It kind of, I forgot the word. Should we say that more? It shaped itself
and defined itself.
Yes.
During the development. And
we stayed in Mars Hill because two of our most remote places were Presque Isle and Fort Kent. And
which we'll talk about it later.
Which we'll talk about later, yes. And Toby Edelman took this photo. Actually, she's the only other photographer in the book and in the exhibition with this photo.
It's amazing, and well, hey Toby, you're a great photographer too. Then that's and you know, there's so much personal connection to this, and the fact that, you know, almost just out of accident, I even met you two. You know, just happened to be the day that you were coming to shoot Nancy Osher's picture, and so, you know, it does seem like a lot of this was serendipity and sort of just embracing the moment when you had it. I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about like what unexpected achievements the project had.
Okay. It was few things that we couldn't expect. Also because we are not from Maine, and also or from United States, and also there are always surprises. So, and in this case, it was good surprises. One of them that we didn't realize that the project will have qualities of community bonding. And first of all, it's because, we got a car from one person, we got the apartment for another person. Many people just refer us to new people, they host us in their homes because they're in the county, in Aroostook County, there is nowhere to stay, actually, almost. But also, there is always a problem or tense, I would say, between the center and the periphery. And Maine, it's basically a periphery. It's almost everything is periphery. So people, when we came, and when Hedva took photographs of them, they were so thrilled that she made all the way to all the ends of the country, instead of them have to go to Portland, and took photograph in their a natural environment, their homes, their offices, their forests and woods and everything else. So they say that it's the first time that they feel that the Maine Jewish Museum is the Museum of Maine and not of Portland. And they feel that they recognized and they are not transparent. And maybe it's even cure wounded that we didn't know about. But for sure, it was bonding. It had a quality of bonding process. And it was very, very exciting things and emotional thing. Another thing that was important, another achievement was the fact that Hedva and me are from Israel. And the people were very interested to hear about what's happening in Israel, not from official,
advocates of Israel.
Yes, or newspaper, like to get another point of view. And many of them, I don't know many, but part of them were not really pro-Israelis. So for them, it was very interesting.
And I think many people learn things that they really don't know and can get from media or from journalists about the real atmosphere of Israel.
And it's another thing, because we are strangers, it was more, I think it was easier for them to trust us and to be more open for the photography, because each session of photography took few hours. And at the beginning, many of the people, they were shy or
nervous,
and it was, we have to defreeze. They had to defreeze, and the fact that we are strangers and we're not living in the same accounts and calculations and that people in small places have, and we are total strangers, it makes them easier to be open and to cooperate with.
It's interesting that, you mentioned that like this was a community builder for people in Maine. I mean, it very much was for me. I could see this in many different portraits, including Minda Gold, who did my son's bris not that long ago. And so, all these different connections that you can see being made, Paula and Paula's family and all of it. But it sounds like you also, we learned from you, and you learned from us, but we learned from you, and it seems like that's a theme that I'm hearing a lot of. And I have a process question for you. I know you're going to get into the narrative and storytelling, and selfishly, I'm sort of well, it's good that it's recorded at least. And by the way, if you hear any screaming, and just know it's happy screaming, not angry screaming. But Was there ever a consideration to have more text within the book? I'm just, I'm thinking of the differences between the exhibit and the book. Did you always know as well that you wanted this to be more of an artistic book rather than a sort of collection of oral histories or essays? Was that sort of also an organic process, or did you know right away, I want to keep it to the visuals?
I think if we had more time, we would have considered putting our experiences with the people we met, because that was also a thrilling experience. Meeting so many people in so little time, that's a life-changing journey. And but the time frame was really tight because we came back to Israel. We worked during the summer on the book, and by November it was printed. So and by February it was in Portland. It was shipped and in Portland, and so the time schedule was tight.
Yeah, but it was another aspect to it. We considered, we thought if to put more text, or to keep it mainly photographs. And one of the reasons, not only because of the time thing, one of the reasons that to keep it as photographs, it was that the photographs should tell the stories. And you look at the photograph and you see it's an art book, not beside it's a documentary book. It's an art book, and when you look at the people, the photographs tells the stories by itself, and it's make it stronger that way. And the fact that you can actually you say that we study a lot from you and you study a lot from us, and one of the reactions we got from people that they say we didn't know that there are Jews in so many different places in Maine, or they do all of this, or there are 8 Jewish legislators in Maine. And for them, it was like a community, I would say, a community meeting. This is a community book in a way.
It truly is. And you speak, as someone who's, works a lot with visual culture, it is fascinating to sort of think of photography and the stories that just a single photograph can tell. And in my background, I'm always interested in what the camera didn't capture as much as what it did. And so I'm sort of interested. You have 282 photos in this book. I imagine the cutting process must have been quite a thing. Like, how many images when you got back were you going through? Thousands? I mean, how many?
Thousands, but the thing was that I wanted to convey the richness of life in Maine, meaning I wanted not only profiles of people, I wanted to show their pets, their surroundings, all kinds of objects that they have in their houses or outside of it. And I thought even about people in Israel, because the nature of Maine is so different than Israel. The colors are different. Even the color of the sky and the woods is different. And so I wanted to have the richest possible picture of life in Maine in this book, in this project.
I think it's one of my favorite pieces of this book is sort of that each section is sort of bookended with these photos of the landscape.
And Itay always told me, you should take more pictures. You should take more. He was nagging. He was sitting like this on my veins.
Yeah, but which is actually create more work for me, because the most difficult thing is to take the right photographs, and especially because it's authentic book. So all the photographs Hedva took with no staging and no
artificial light.
It was all natural, entirely natural. And then the other thing is then to choose the good ones. And then from the good ones, the better ones. And then from the better ones, the best ones and the excellent ones. So it's a process of selections, more and more and more, like three rounds of selection until we got the best ones.
Because at the end, you have the viewer, and he should look at your best choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like interesting because it is an art book, and it is a beautiful art book. But you mentioned even yourselves, I think, that sort of it's also, you see it as an archive, and that there is this sort of other purpose to this project beyond just this sort of aesthetic and community building aspect. I mean, this is you're recording a piece of Maine's history at a specific time that will be, in the decades to come, viewed as a historical artifact itself. And was there ever any thought to that of like, people are going to be looking at this in the future to learn about Maine, or was that, look, that's my bias. It might not have been part of the project, but I'm interested in hearing you talk a little bit more about the archival aspect of this. What was this archiving?
I'm sorry, I don't really understand the question.
You were collecting stories from people as you went. You took photographs of people. You didn't put all this, you chose not to put the stories in the book, all of them, but they still record and are a historical record of the Jewish community in Maine in the year 2025. How much does that matter versus the art? The fact that this is an important documentation of Maine's Jewish life.
I would say in two things. First of all, it's beside the book, and part of it is we build, our publishing house is dealing a lot with history and biographies. So we build the Maine Jewish Museum a biographical form, so people fill and deliver to the museum. So it's in the museum archive. It's another product of the project, Ampersand.
And it's a live archive. I think it's still being updated.
Yeah, and the other thing is in the book, and because when you see people in Maine in 2025 of all different origins and colors and
genders
and
ages,
professions, settlements, towns and villages and cities.
And different ways of belonging to Judaism or to the Jewish community.
Like beliefs or ideas, and actually sacrilegious people and all sorts of different beliefs, and people who are not Jewish but live with Jewish people and everything. It's basically create, I think, suggest and maybe even forced or demand new Jewish identity, not based on dead and history, it's based on life and current
and future.
And what you see is, I would take it even one step forward. What you see is that you can base the Judaism not on the religious element. It's so much, you can base it more on the cultural element, which means if you decide to be part of these people, if you like to live with them, if you're devoted, if you
tie your destiny to their destiny.
So you are a Jew. And this is a really cultural, pluralistic, new identity which fits more, not only Maine, I think it's fit the 21st century.
Yes, and I know folks in the audience too are interested in seeing some of the photos of the book, and so I just have one last sort of thing before I have to also say shalom and get out of here. Is that Frederick Douglass spoke very powerfully. He was the most photographed individual of the 19th century, and he spoke very powerfully of the power of the photograph to push back against stereotypes and caricature, and that the photograph in Douglass's mind is the only true way of showing a group and to sort of fight back against discrimination and so I'm just interested to the last thing that I'd ask of you two is to just sort of expound on that process? I mean, do you believe that the photos in this book are doing that? And does photography have a uniquely special way of connecting us and humanizing us to people who might otherwise not know Jews or not, politically be inclined to support Jewish causes or anything like that? I'm just interested in hearing that before I leave.
I think I don't know if you know this, but I think around 140 books will be delivered to schools, to high schools in Maine. So I'd be really interested to see how the children and grown-ups would react to the pictures that they see there. I think in that sense, this project and the book are a fight against anti-Semitism, but in a very cool, calm way.
Well, it certainly felt that way to me, and it means a lot to hear that was also your intentions, because I think it's accomplished 1,000-fold in this book, and I cannot thank you enough for this, and I'm sorry I have to head out, but Hedva, Itay, Toda Rabba. I hope you're coming back. You're staying at Paula's house. We're going out for dinner, and again, thank you so much, and I will look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye, Louis. So is this a great place? I think a perfect opportunity to bring the images in and hear Hedva's narration out of so many amazing experiences. It's like you were saying about the photographs, the good to the great, to the great, to the excellent, but so many moments and stories, so that you had to just pick a few. And so we get to hear your story and look at some of these beautiful photographs. And then we can do this for about till about 7:05, and then open up for Q&A for our audience to be able to ask questions. How's that?
Good.
Okay, great.
Great. Okay, so starting at the cover, this is Rachel Faloshel, and we decided that she'd be on the cover because it's a really good photo, and she embodies the concept, the idea behind the Ampersand Project. Rachel came to the US with her parents from Benin, and I think around her 40s, she felt that she's Jewish, and she went through an Orthodox conversion. And I met Rachel during January 25 at my exhibition at the MJM, and she directed herself. She's photographed at Rabbi Berenson's office, which also functions as a small synagogue. And she wanted to be with the guitar, with her talit and her yarmulke. And actually, she does not know, she didn't know back then to play the guitar, but she sings. She sang to me beautifully. And I have many beautiful photos in the book, but Rachel to me was the best one for the cover. And in Israel, this photo amazes people because many people that I know have no idea how the Orthodox Jews look like in the US. So this photo is, of course, of Fort Williams. Now you know that I was really in the US during January. After 10 minutes, my hands froze. I had to bring the camera again back into my coat. I had to defrost my fingers. But the scenery is beautiful, as I guess all of you must know that. and we don't have that kind of view in Israel.
Yeah, another thing that we don't have such a light in Israel. So all our life we saw the American paintings with the American New England light. And suddenly when we saw the light, this is a real light, it was fascinating for us.
So the book and the exhibition are organized geographically from the south of Maine to the north part of it. And we tried, even in this small presentation, to bring you some of the people from different places in Maine. So Ten Apple Farm, they are seated in Gray. And I met them, this special family, through Rabbi Hannah Estrin. So Carl Schatz and Margaret Hathaway and their daughters, Sadie, Charlotte, and Beatrice, live in Gray. Now, Carl and Margaret were journalists, and Carl, I learned that he was the photo editor for Time magazine. And that stressed me out a lot when I planned this photography session with him, but it was a great day in their farm. Carl and Margaret decided to stop being journalists and to live in Gray and to have a farm with kids and goats, and they have a huge pig there, and
Pony horses.
Yeah, and pony horses. They are Beatrice's pony horses. And when I thought each and every meeting that I had with people, I had to understand to interpret what would be best, how it would be best to have them photographed, and how they would look the best way they can. And happily, they wanted to show us the kids, and they suggested that we petted them. So I had sort of a internal fight between taking the pictures and having fun with the kids. But I did manage to take them all. And it's a challenge because kids just move all the time. And this is in the family's kitchen. I think it's the main room in their house because they make all kinds of goat cheese and muffins and other things. And it kind of captures the intimacy between the family members and the fact that they all are so calm and happy, very naturally there. You want to say something?
Yeah, I really love in this photograph not only the light, but and how they stand and everything, but also the different aspects of their life as farmers right now, which were journalists. So you can see on the table also the fruit and the vegetables and the
rhubarb lemonade.
Yes,
good rhubarb lemonade.
Yes, and also the newspapers and the books, and so it's
and the books they made together.
Yeah, so it's all mixed together, and this is the real existence.
This was a challenge. I was trying to take pictures of the kids, and they jumped, so I took hundreds of pictures until I managed to take the one that just did not jump at that second. And this place is mostly dark. And again, I had no light with me, but it was pure luck that I managed to take this kid. And this is the last one for this series. It's just a corner in the living room of the Schatz Hathaway family. The goat skulls are just part of the life cycle, and it's part of the natural things that happen within this farm, within this family. So this was a very special meeting. I don't know if many of you knew Corey Hinton. This is Corey. He's a lawyer at the Drummond Woodsum Company. Corey won the Gerda Haas Award from the Center for Holocaust and Human Rights Museum. I really wanted to have this meeting. He's a hard man to get because he's really busy. And my way of trying to understand who am I going to meet was relying on my childhood memories of things I read about Native American people and all kinds of pictures and films I saw of Native Americans today, Native Americans, people living in the US and Canada. And of course, nothing from this really could prepare me to this meeting. What happened was that both of us, Corey and I, were very embarrassed and shy, and we laughed a lot. And it was hard to take him not laughing until I just asked him to be serious. And to bring his ponytail in front so people would see it, because you couldn't have seen it otherwise. And this is actually taken in one of the offices in the company's building. And another special thing that happened during this meeting was that Corey explained the symbols that are on his bolo tie. And he told us things about the Passamaquoddy tribe that he belongs to. His father is Native American, his mother is Jewish. And I think both he and his sister are taking very much to the heart the values of Tikkun Olam, each of them his own way. And that's it. Do you want to say something about this meeting?
Yeah, I first of all, he is a very tall person, and we are not. So
yeah.
We have one photograph together, and we looks like
midgets.
Yes, beside him, and therefore his head is until the top of the photograph. He filled the frame. But it was one very beautiful thing he said to us, that Hedva asked him if he's half Native American and half a Jew. And he said, no, you cannot be half Native American or half a Jew. So basically, your all identity can be 100% Native American and yet 100% Jewish. So you cannot split identities. If you have split identities, this is a big problem. But you can have few identities which live together. I think it was a very wise thing.
Okay. Next picture. This is the picture from Central Maine, from Albany Township. It's a story of a couple, Paul Hausman and Pamela Chodush. Paul is a part of a group called Jews in the Woods. Don't know how many of you know this. It's a group of Jewish people that came to Maine during the 70s, I think, part of the coming to nature groups. We met Paul and Pamela at our friend's Marcel Polak's house during winter. And Paul, I think, was reluctant to being photographed. I don't know what convinced him.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, I think this is very typical kind of things. People live alone because people go to Maine to be, many of them, to be left alone. Otherwise, they would live in New York or Chicago. And many of them, they are shy or they don't like the spotlights, and it takes time. And so his wife was, she liked to be photographed, and Paul, we could see that he's
Shy and tough.
yes, and struggling between himself, like in inner argument between himself if to be photographed or not. So after 2 hours, he become ready to the photograph, and he says that in this tidy warehouse he can find everything, and I'm sure he believes it. But I want to say something more about these Jews in the woods, because many of them are very what they call themselves, define themselves, progressive people. And many of them didn't like to meet us because we are radioactive. We are from Israel. And it was actually sad because, first of all, if you are liberal, like, why you boycott people? But also, we stood in the front of the demonstrations against this Israeli government in a very violent city for months and months and months. So it was very sad that because of pre-opinion and pre-ideas and prejudice, you, instead of making bridges with people, you don't. So, but some of them did, and it was beautiful and very important meetings, and very important, exciting meetings, and we became friends. So, and we discovered that they don't really anti-Israelis, they just cannot defend, as we cannot, many things that this government does. But so we discovered that we have a lot in common. I think it was another healing process.
Another thing I wanted to say.
Just one thing. This is some of the Jews in the woods, not Paul. Paul is very pro-Israeli, is very, so it was no problem with that.
Yeah. Some of the places that we've been in, people had no idea that these places exist in Maine. Like, we drove to a place called Avon. There we met, who we met in Avon?
Austin Thunderdyke.
Yeah, Austin Thunderdyke. And people thought that we're talking about Avon, the cosmetic company. So the same happened with Albany Township.
Yeah. Another thing about Albany Township, not only about Albany Township, like, we had to rely on Waze to go,
Waze app,
to navigate from one place to another place in this empty country. And you don't know if the Waze send you to another place and somebody will shoot you because it's a private property. And it
didn't happen.
It didn't happen, but in this area, the roads are very bad. They don't believe in this area in fixing roads. So in this Toyota Yaris, it was a real challenge.
We were careful. I'm a good driver, sometimes. So this is my American Gothic version of Paul and Pamela. And Paul built his house. It's an off-grid house. So the wall you see behind Paul and Pamela is his handmade. And I think they look wonderful here. They're very proud. And this is Pamela. She's a gifted violinist, and she's an enthusiast amateur of genealogy and she has a background in fashion. But the thing with the violin, there's an interesting story behind it. I had no idea until I met Elizabeth Roth. And Elizabeth, which is also part of this project, has a music hall in a place called Waterford. It's near Harrison. And Pamela came and met Elizabeth, and Elizabeth encouraged her to play the violin, to go back actually to playing the violin. And after, I think, a year, something like that, Pamela created her own band, and she plays with them in this center, and she encourages them playing and exercising. And this is Pamela's Raggedy Ann doll. And again, I know that this is part of American life, but I took this picture because I think every boy or girl has their own childhood memories, connected doll or toy or something, but this is such an American thing. And we don't have that kind of doll in Israel, but I guess many girls had some raggedy doll of their own. And I just wanted to capture something of Pamela's childhood. So this takes us to the northern part of Maine, to Aroostook County. And this beautiful picture is of the potato fields in Mars Hill. The view there was so different than central Maine and greater Portland and southern Maine, yeah, and the colors were very different. And we headed there on our way to Presque Isle and to Fort Kent, but we'll tell you about that. So, I don't know how many of you know Raphael Gribbetz. He lives in Presque Isle, and Raphael is an artist, very good one. He's a painter and a sculptor and a musician, and this is his studio / his workshop. It's a small, cramped place. I could barely stand there. I just took as much as I can. It was dark, and I have no idea how he works there, but I wanted to show people how it looks like living as a painter. And this person, Raphael, came to Maine 40-something years ago. He came from New York. He was working as a cab driver for 7 years. And actually, he met his wife during one of these drives. You want to say something about his background? Because it's important.
Yeah. He grew up in an ultra-Orthodox family. And then he turned out to be not ultra-Orthodox anymore. And he was one of the most difficult people to agree to be photographed. At the beginning, he didn't like to. And the second, so Hedva called him again. And the second time she called, he hesitated, but he agreed, like it was like, yes, no, he doesn't know. He was very suspicious. Why people come all the way to end of Maine, yes, to Presque Isle to get his photograph. He didn't understand he didn't know if there is an agenda behind it or not. But after we start talk, and it took again about 2 hours, and then he became very happy with it, and we had a lot of talks.
Okay, so this is Rafael, and he plays the piano for us. And on the right side, you see underneath the lamp, it's one of his sculptures, and behind it, one of his paintings. And Rafael decided that he'd play for us. And it was a beautiful moment. I think that was his way to thank us for coming, for talking with him, for listening to him, for taking his picture and commemorating him and acknowledging him. And he warned me. That was beautiful. He warned me as an artist to an artist not to get too close to the truth. I guess religious people would know what he thought of. This is Rafa's kitchen. And on the right, you see the pot where he made us coffee. And there he brews his pictures too. He works on his paintings in the kitchen.
Yeah, this is literally living with you or in your art. Yeah.
And this is kind of, it's almost the end of our journey. I don't remember who decided, who found it. This is...
Oh, yeah. When the project grew, and we discovered that one of the things we discovered that it's getting a meaning and excitement and buzz of all state project. Then, and the community was so excited that we come all over the place and we go to each place. So, and it's become, I felt it's become important that we'll go until the end of Maine, until Fort Kent. Because symbolically it's the end, symbolically it's the farthest point. And Hedva was laughing at me, and she said, "You just like to go to Fort Kent, so you invent all this reasoning." But I did like to go to Fort Kent, but the main reason was that I did understand that it's symbolically it's very important that we'll cover all Maine, and this is a very symbolic point. So we came there, and there is no Jews anymore in Fort Kent, so what can we do? And then we just discovered that the last Jewish people lived in Fort Kent. They had a car dealership, but they sold it and they moved to Canada. So, but the new owner, he just left a memorial wall with the photographs of the Jewish family of car dealers. So.
And the car dealership's history. So we went to Fort Kent. I took a picture of this wall. We even asked the people there. It's the Valley car dealership, I think. We asked them if they know something, if there are any other Jewish people in Fort Kent, but they had no idea.
Yeah, and when discovering it was so important later when Hedva put on the Facebook, while we've been there, Hedva put on her Facebook
a selfie
there in Fort Kent, and in a minute the Facebook page got tons of likes and reactions of happiness that she's been there. So.
Okay. So this is us. And the picture was taken by Toby Edelman in her parking place in Mars Hill. It's almost at the end of the journey of these 2 months. And I think we're both really excited and worn out after all this driving and so many meetings and so much excitement. Because people not only tried to be the best they could be for the photography, they also tried to tell us things, meaningful things about themselves, about their lives, about their hopes.
Yeah, it was a great thing that Toby did, taking this picture at the end of the journey, and you see on the left side the sun come from the
Clouds shining on us.
So it was like a very almost spiritual moment.
So going to the last slide.
Yeah, this is an example of the variety. Some we can recognize himself here, Paula. You can see, so how can you actually have discrimination against Jews or pre-opinions or anti-Semitism when you see this is just like small example for the variety. Well, yeah.
Are you able to see some of the questions that are being asked?
Okay, now
Just
we're
a
seeing.
second. We go to the chat. Oh, sorry.
Amanda, may I ask, maybe you can read some of the questions, you and Paula and Simeon?
Yeah, and we want to invite people to put their questions in the chat so that Hedva and Itay can respond to them.
We'll put the first Q&A question in the chat.
We don't see any. Oh. I think it will be easier if somebody will read it to us. It will be easier than to us reading it. It will take us just more time.
I can read it. I'll read.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amanda.
The question comes from Grace. She says, I appreciate you recognizing that not all Jews in Maine are pro-Israel, and I agree that building bridges is so important for all of our healing. I'm a Jewish Mainer who organizes in support of Palestinian rights, and I don't see any of our community members who organize for Palestine represented in these photos. Did you attempt to reach out to Jews like me who are often excluded from Jewish institutions in Maine because of our vocal support for Palestinians' right to exist, or Palestine's right to exist?
Yeah, the answer for that is complex. When I've been in Maine during January, there was demonstration against me specifically, and plus a lot of hate mail going to Don La Rochelle during 2 weeks before I came because of the theme of my first exhibition. And the exhibition, the demonstration was organized by JVP people. And after telling me that I'm pro women that fed soldiers, and I don't know how many people won't fed soldiers that are defending their lives in the US, by the way, they went and had a ball at a brewery. That's one thing. Another thing was that when representatives of these demonstrators wanted to have a dialogue, both Itay and I came to the museum and sat with the representatives for 3 hours. And we had a talk, a long talk, with Don La Rochelle and Dr. Paula Gerstenblatt sitting with us. That happened during January. During May to June, I photographed, I have no idea how many JV peers. I remember the ones that came out and talked about it. We sat with them. We found out that when we sit with people, individuals, and not as group, just as individuals, we can really talk with them because they can ask questions. They can convey their fears, their thoughts, their feelings, and a dialogue could have been built that way. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and we didn't exclude people because of their opinion.
We didn't exclude anyone.
They excluded us sometimes, but we never did it. And we quite a lot. I know at least, let's say, at least 10 people in this book which are very pro-Palestine. And we are not against Palestinians also, but no, we didn't exclude anybody. But as we had been excluded by them sometimes. But one thing I think it's important about it that we discovered that, how I say it, many of them, they don't know many of the facts, and they don't want to know many of the facts. Like we right now going to publish an art book about what's happening in the West Bank, and bad things happen to the Palestinians. But yet we know also the responsibility of the Palestinians for their thing. And what we discovered many times that people like to think idiosyncratically, and that was very hard to challenge.
We have another question in there. You want to read it, Amanda?
Sure. Joe asks how you were able to really capture people's character and have them look so natural in your photos.
Okay. First of all, I think some of them or many of them really wanted to look at their best. And my aim in every photography project I'm conducting is to have people at their best. And when I meet people, and of course, all the people that I met during this project were total strangers, my kind of technique is to think about them as young children, like as 5-year-olds before they had a biography, before they had to struggle. That's it. I'm just aiming as hard as I can for something like the right moment. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes I need to take many pictures, but that's it.
Alana asks if you can elaborate on how you came to connect with the subjects that you photographed, who you photographed.
We made friends during January, February in Maine, and when we wanted to make the project larger, we contacted some of these friends. They sent us to their acquaintances and friends, and all of these people, I had to deal with the logistics of making the meetings, scheduling them. So that was the first contact. And the new people, the new friends, the new acquaintances sent us to other people. So it just grew and grew and grew. And I think because I came under the museum's name, it was easier to get their trust. I hope that answers you. you want to say something?
I have a question I'd like to add. Were there any folks who did not want to be included in the book, or really how many? I was quite curious because I know you mentioned that some were that had to be persuaded a little bit or did not want to at first, but ultimately, like how many people that you found interested to be photographed ultimately were not and really were against it?
I think one, right?
One was really didn't like them.
Reluctant, yeah.
But she was another photographer, so I think she was actually not happy with the fact that somebody else does the project.
Yeah, and there was this person that has, he's in charge of the telescope in Mars Hill, but he was in Washington, I think, and we missed each other, and that was at the end of the project.
He wanted. He just he couldn't. Like we couldn't coordinate it, and yet it was few that they refused to. Not many, but few refused to sign the waiver.
Yeah.
So we can use the photograph. So okay, but really, like we're talking about less than 1%. Yeah, most of the people actually, like in general, you know, it's a community book. Like people like to be in history. People like that somebody in the next generation, the next generation, and the next generation will know that somewhere in the past, sometime in the past, it was a person like this, and they lived there, and they did this and this, and they were part of something. And so it's people like it. They like to leave their mark.
Okay, and I see, did you find any practicing Orthodox Jews? That's for you.
Yeah, we actually had especially one family Orthodox, like Chabad, which Chabad is very Orthodox, and from Brunswick. And yeah, this family is in the book, of course. And one of the children, it's in the last slide we show, a beautiful one.
The red-headed young girl.
Yeah, this is the only really ultra Orthodox, but other than them, we have Orthodox, New Orthodox, Reform, Conservative,
non-denominations.
Yes, and of course, sacrilegious like us. So,
and modern Orthodox. And
one of the things that was new to us, you know, in Israel, only the Reform rabbi, women rabbi, work with yarmulke, with kippah and talit. And here we discover that even in Orthodox communities, women just go with talit and kippah, which is yarmulke, which is different. That we don't have pro or against it. Like
no,
we think people should do whatever they feel like. But it was new to us.
It was new to us, and the reactions to these photographs in Israel was amazing. Because it's not only that people had no idea that Orthodox women wear yarmulkes and talit, even some of the secular ones were so shocked from that they could not believe, they didn't want to believe it, that they walk like that. Okay, so another question I see, were you able to join in services in any of the synagogues in Maine? Are the Jews in Israel as diverse as the Jews in Maine are? Yes. When I was in Rockland, we were there when they conducted the prayers, morning prayers.
And in Auburn.
And in Auburn, yes, and in Auburn. Oh my God, that was and experience. Yeah, you will tell it. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a community in Auburn. We've been in few and we took part. I think since my bar mitzvah, I didn't participate so many prayers like I pray in Maine, but it was like a text for sometimes text for photography. But the most interesting experience and beautiful experience was in Auburn. There is a great, beautiful community, and they make the Shabbat service singing and playing the whole prayer, just singing and playing with in actually gypsy music. And they play, the rabbi play an accordion and his wife play a violin, and it was beautiful. And they're Orthodox, but they broadcast in Zoom the service because for the old member and the sick member in the community, so they cannot participate and they sit at home. And I usually don't wear kippah, but and nobody care about it, but and they didn't care that we'll take photographs there, but the security person there, which is not a Jewish, he was so upset that I'm not wearing a yarmulke, and he asked me all the time doing it. So I didn't like to upset him. Like it cost him really emotional price. Like he was sad about saying, no problem, I put a kippah, and he gave them the whole security for free because he feels a Jew. His photograph is in the book because we're talking about different kind of Jewish identity and existence. So this man is feeling like a Jew. He never converted, but he feels like a Jew, and he studies a lot, and he reads a lot, and he's there, and he volunteered to do the security. So he's very, very Jewish, much more than many others that I know that were born Jewish. So it was a beautiful community.
Yes, and we were in the services in the Bangor community too.
And Bangor, and also
Bangor congregation.
Yes, and in the not Camden,
Rockland,
and in Southern Maine, in
Biddeford.
Yeah. So yeah. Actually,
I'm sorry. I was going to ask you a question that I think is interesting. That we're talking about the response here in terms of the participants and your experiences. Having been in Israel with you in November and December, when the book first was published, and you shared that book, and a number of people in Israel, your friends and colleagues that had a chance to look at the book, and I got to see some very interesting reactions. In the same way, I think there was a question: are Jews as diverse in Israel as they are in Maine? And it's like, oh boy, yeah. Ethnically, racially, everything. But, and you can answer that better than myself, but I do, having seen these reactions, also like the flip side of it, of Israelis looking at Jews in Maine, you know, the Jews in the woods, Corey, this whole range of Jewry, not just like who's wearing talit and kippah, but the looks on people's faces when they would thumb through the book. And so maybe you can speak a little to the reaction of the Israelis who have viewed the book, and we, you know, give that a different angle, because I think for me, having seen it, it was really fascinating.
I think the camel does not see its own hemp, meaning I'm kind of living between the worlds now, because as I understand, when people, Jewish people from the US or from Europe come to Israel, they are amazed from the fact that we have Ethiopian Jews or Yemenite Jews or Jews of all kinds of colors and eye shapes, eye colors, body shapes, all kinds of beliefs. And we have the people coming from, Jewish people coming from India. They are very different. We have mixed couples of people coming from Philippines or other Oriental places. And in comparison, I know that besides Corey, there were other people of Native Americans origins in the project, and people that are a mix from Vietnam or other countries that are, let's say, half Vietnamese or half Puerto Ricans and half Jewish people, and etc. And mixes that you won't find in Israel. And that's the camel and the hemp, because it's very natural in Israel to see people in different colors and different shapes and all that. But then again, seeing the same thing in the US it amazes people here. It's a new thing.
Can you speak to how Israelis that you shared the book with reacted to the book? Because I got to see that and I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah, I think, first of all, there is no signs in Israel in front of the synagogues. There is no signs about the prayer of the week, the Parashat HaShavua, the weekly chapter. Okay, so this is new. People, in Israel, people don't bury it in caskets. They just have this
cloth, fabric.
Yeah, so there is no talis stands, but I think the most amusing, for me it was amusing, but the most actually problematic thing was that when we went to bind the book, the book, first of all, you publish it, you print it, and then you bind it. And the best bindery in Israel belong to ultra-religious people. And it was a very sensitive thing to let them bind the book, that the cover of it's black woman with kippah and talit, which in Israel, ultra-Orthodox women never wear a kippah or talit, just a male thing. And standing with a guitar in a synagogue. So we didn't know if they would be reject the job and they wouldn't be able to do it. And we needed their bindery because it's the best, and the book is very thick and heavy, so we need a good bindery so the book will stay together. So first of all, we send them the inner part of the book, so they fold and do and sew and do all the work. And just after they finish everything, we send them the cover. And so at that point in time, after they did 90% of the job, they couldn't step back. So that's how we had to handle things.
That's a cool move. So we have a few more minutes, and I don't know if there are any other questions. But what I would like to do with our remaining time is to thank everyone who had a role in doing this, our super duper USM Hillel students, Simeon and Amanda. Always so impressive that the work that they're doing to promote Jewish life on our campus and in the community. Thank you to Zach, to Libby, to Louie, to our media services, and of course to you, Hedva and Itay, for this beautiful book and this beautiful work and the exhibit that is still up through April. And we would encourage everyone to go to the museum. It's an amazing exhibit. Melissa and Dawn curated something so special. And the other thing is, I want to say, if you want to purchase books, to see a book copy, they have desk copy there. And to purchase a book, all you have to do is go to the Jewish Museum and let them know. They have a nice stash there that you can purchase. Also, I know that the USM libraries will have copies too, and that you can look at and borrow from our library. So we also know this is very, very late for you, and it's been a difficult time because, in fact, you were supposed to be here in person. You were supposed to be here March 3rd, and this war disrupted those plans, that you couldn't attend your exhibit, that you couldn't do a number of things live, events at the museum here, and have those kind of special conversations. And as we talked earlier, really bridging the community by, the contact that you made with folks. And that's really what does it, right? The stories, the sharing, the face-to-face, sharing our stories. And that's what kind of backs us out of our absolutes and debunks the rigid, flat narratives that really serve none of us. So thank you for doing this beautiful project, for traveling 7,000 miles to places many of us who live in Maine have yet to be, and to all those who helped, Marcel and everybody who supported you while you were here. And we really look forward to you coming. Word on the street is that this exhibit will move to the Center for Holocaust and Human Rights Study in Maine in Augusta. And we know you'll be coming, and we look forward to more conversations, more dialogue, more photographs, more sharing. And thanks to everyone for being here, and especially knowing how much pressure and the strain that you've been under since this war started, the missiles, the constant sirens. So I'm so glad that we were able to connect even on Zoom, and we look forward to seeing you in person here in the U.S. very soon.
And finally, thanks for getting up in the middle of the night to do the presentations.
Thanks to everybody for coming too. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
Hedva. Thank you, Itay.